started off with this webinar service. It's a little bit new, so there might be some technical issues. Sorry about that. Hi guys, it's Thomas here and my partner Balint. I welcome you to this exciting webinar. It's our first webinar. And before I go into the service itself, I'd like to show you this very short slideshow that we've produced. And starting off with a little bit of history about COT base. So we started off roughly 10 years ago with simple Excel sheets. I'm giving you an example over here where we already had the basic functions, the COT change signals, the all-time, the 52-week, and also the extremes for all major categories: commercials, large speculators, and small speculators for futures only and futures and options data. And of course, we had the volume and open interest scores already. So we did this in Excel sheets. It was, of course, not public, only for ourselves. But we basically hired a programmer who created the system that we needed on a web-based platform, and voila, COT base was born. So what's new about COT base? The previous version was already, I think, something great that helped you analyze COT data, but it lacked some important charting and deeper analysis features that we've included. So now we can basically show you all the data sets that we have. You can chart practically everything. You're going to see this very soon. And speaking of data, we've expanded the data sets by roughly 20-fold. A lot of data sets to analyze. The original data set that we analyzed was the net positions, basically the short positions subtracted from the long positions. Most traders analyze this data set, but we've added 13 more data sets for you. We've made some great innovation regarding the COT data, introducing the options only data. You can see here that we had the futures only, the futures and options, but now you have the option of checking this, the options only data as well. It's really interesting. I'm going to show you an example very soon. There's a new feature called the multi-report COT change, which basically checks the last couple of reports. In this example, we are looking at the last 5 reports and compares that to a 52 weeks range. And in this example, where you have this huge bullish COT extreme signal in the coffee market, showing you this bottom, signaling it really well. After that, you can see that we are getting some really decent change signals, basically helping you identifying this top. So we believe that this multi-report change signal is going to be something great to analyze. Of course, we have some more features as well. We added the COT index, so you can chart that. We have the COT move index, the raw volume and open interest, and of course, much more. We're going to show you that very soon. Also, the market dashboards. I'm just going to run through these. You're going to get this slideshow. Anybody interested in this, it's going to be up on the site after this webinar, so you can download this and go into it more deeply. Let's talk about markets. We've added a lot of great markets: 5 new currencies, 2 energies, 2 stock indexes, and cryptocurrencies finally arrived, so you can analyze Bitcoin as well. Of course, there's a lot of other examples that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to be doing some how to use videos and focusing on some special features as well. And finally, we reached this options only data I wanted to show you. So on the left side, you can see the gold futures market with futures and options data set. And on the right side, the same market on the same time frame with the options only data set. Now, what's striking is, of course, the significant correlation between these data sets, and also that the changes are more obvious here. So you can use the COT change signal more easily if you're looking only on the options only data. So that was the slideshow, and now I'm going to jump to the service itself. No worries, we're going to have some question and answers as well. If you have any questions, just feel free to type it in, and Bali beside me will be answering them as soon as he can. So this is the page. For those of you who are subscribers to futures trading guides and FX trading guides, I'm sure you're going to see some similarities with the structure and design. Also, for those of you who've only subscribed to COT base, you can see that the table did not change. On the right side over here in the top, you can see that you can analyze the volume and open interest the same way we have the highlights. Nothing really changed over here, so I'm not going to go into in-depth analysis of this side, but rather go back to the COT analysis tools and talk a little bit about these settings. So on the left side here, we have the markets. I'll show you just in a moment, but first the settings. You have the COT report type setting, which of course was already in the previous version, the disaggregated, the TIFF, and the CIT data is also available. Of course, we recommend to analyze the classic reports, but someone who's interested in a more in-depth analysis of traders' positions might want to go into more details. Here you have the options only data type that I just talked about. The data sets, the lot of data sets that you can choose from can be chosen over here. Of course, you can, if you're only, let's say, a currency trader, a forex trader, then of course you can select only currencies if you wish. And here we have the magic, basically the new features, a lot of new features that we've added can be seen over here. So we have the all-time, the 52 weeks look back period for the one report change, but you have the option of let's look at a 5 report change, and just for simplicity reasons, let's look at it on a 52 weeks time range. You'll see on the right side that the table is changing accordingly. And of course, you can also chart that. Let's have a look at it. Here we have the Australian dollar. And I just want to show you that you can actually take down some data sets if you wish, and then everything is more easier to see. So a lot of different tools that you have. Also, jumping a little bit further, but I just want to show you that, which is quite obvious, that we have this chart tooltip already, which was long needed. So you can read the exact values of net positions. On the top left corner over here, you can see that we have, of course, the basic price data as well. And let's move on and have a look at COT Extreme analysis. So we have the COT Extreme that was existing, but you can chart it as well. So, of course, after you put more and more into the chart, it's advisable to take some down. So it's going to be a little bit crowded and too dense to analyze. But for now, let's say this is still visible. And you can see here, we have the COT extremes coinciding with the extremes themselves. So what it does, this charting tool, is visually, it becomes more easier to see where we have these extremes. We also added the charting possibility of COT index. I'm going to take down the COT extremes. I'm just going to wait for the table to change. There's a lot of data sets, so there's a lot of calculation in the background. And let's get back to the Australian dollar just for this webinar. It's easy to go through the Australian dollar. And here you go. And if we take down the commercials and large speculators, you'll see that, and let's say we can also take down that, then what you have in front of you is the COT index charted as requested. And of course, you can choose the COT index even on a custom time range. So previously we had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but now you can choose a 10 years, for instance, or whatever you wish. We're going to stick to the 3 years for now. We've also added the COT move index, of course, which measures the change in the COT index itself. Another great feature, the long-term trend. Of course, this isn't new as well, but the charting capability of it is. And I think that's something which is important to visually show you. So we're going to open the euro this time, and here we go. So let's take off the COT index, just so everything becomes more visible. So you want to focus your attention, your eyes over here, because what we're doing is basically visually, graphically showing you the long-term trend signal. This is something actually we want to change in the upcoming few weeks. It's not that important, but I think it's just going to be more nicer if you have the whole section where we go into a downtrend, as you can see here from this point in time, as large speculators go beneath the zero line, meaning they become net short. Our long-term trend indicator is indicating that we are in a downtrend. And as the large speculators moved back to net long territory, you can see that we get this green box over there, which is a great signal for us to go long. So this is how you can use the long-term trend indicator and, of course, the charting of it. I know I'm jumping a little bit here and there, sorry about that, but just don't want to leave out anything important. But here you have the option of downloading these images in different formats. Of course, you could also export this, the data of the euro itself, if you wish, in different formats as well. This is, of course, inside the analysis membership. We talked about the long-term trend, volume and open interest analysis. Well, we have the original, the volume open interest scores on a 5 days look back period. Of course, you can set that as you wish. You can chart it as well. Finally, we have the volume and open interest charts, the raw volume and open interest that everybody was asking for underneath the charts. I'll show you just a second. So it's available in this new version of the site. And of course, you can always do a historical analysis by looking at an older report. So now back to over here, the dashboards. And if we choose the euro, here you can see, I'm going to click back. So this is the default dashboard for the euro. Everything, all the data sets are listed over here on the left side. And you have the option of you can actually open all of these individually, and then a new chart comes down and you can analyze them separately. So here we have the open interest itself underneath the euro. If we want to have a look at, let's say, the extremes, you can order the table accordingly, and you can see that here large speculator short positions are the largest. We have the largest extreme over here. So I don't know if it's understandable. I hope it is, but basically this is how it's working. And also, yeah, Brian was just showing me not to forget about the options only data. So here you have the option of choosing the data set to show you the options only data set. You see, we were on futures and now we are on options only. And I think that's roughly how we've changed the system.
And also the backgrounds are important. The backgrounds.
Yeah, the background coloring is basically, as you can see, showing you it's more easier to find the larger values and the imbalances in different data sets if you use the color coding. I think that was
absolutely.
Yeah. So any questions if you have? Tom, would you show the Chicago wheat? Sure, why not? Let's have a look at the Chicago wheat. There we go.
Put it in order.
The data set will be in order.
Find some change maybe. And 52 all time. Yeah.
There we go. We have
it's more red than blue or green.
Yeah.
And maybe he wants to see the normal charts. You know
Okay, let's go back to the main page, and then we can open the Chicago wheat here as well. And there you go. So as you can see, by default, we always show you the net positions, but you can add all the tools that you're interested in.
Maybe we can take a look at the options only as well. How different is it?
Sure, let's have a look at the options only data. You see, there's a lot of stuff that's new for us as well. So it's a very exciting time because we have a much greater volume of data sets to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have the options data itself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the chart itself gives you the possibility to have a look at the whole history. You can see that, of course, this is indicated that it's showing you the options only data set. So maybe that goes only back to 1998, but a lot of ways to change the charts themselves.
Maybe you can show some examples on the gold market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's open gold. Why not gold? We had gold with regard to the options only data set. And I think it's here we have the 5 years chart. And you can see that we have pretty decent changes in traders' positions over here, much greater than if you look at the futures and options data set. So I'm just going to jump back to the futures only data set to show you the differences in COT changes. So we're looking at the gold. We're going back to the futures only. You can see that over here. This is the 5 years chart. And as in the example I showed you in the slides, if you choose the options only data, then you can see that these changes become much greater. And you can see that when we had this large change a few weeks ago, that was a pretty good signal for this bottom, and the price of gold rallied afterwards. So maybe a lot of options traders know a little bit more about the market itself, and possibly it's a good idea to follow these seemingly larger and more visible COT change signals. So if you have, actually we're getting a lot of questions parallel. It's a bit hard to follow them, but one thing's for sure, we're going to be answering all these questions by email. We have a limited time, but if you, for any reason, we're unable to attend this webinar, we're going to be posting the video recording of this to the site, and of course to our YouTube channel as well. So this basically was intended to show you the main differences of the new version of the site compared to the original COT base. We're going to be coming out with multiple videos trying to help you better understand how you can get the most out of this new service. We would very much appreciate your feedback. Any feedback that you have with respect to the new site, we would be very, very thankful for that. And I think, yeah. Oh yeah, and one more thing. We have a special link. This is just for you guys. If you would like to, is it this? Webinar, yeah. So we have this very special deal, but only for those who have attended this webinar. It's a very short. It lasts until midnight. Yeah. So we give 20% off of our special subscription. So it's not on the main page, but if you change the link to webinar over here, cotbase.com/webinar, then you would find this and you can get some better deals on our subscriptions. So I thank you all for coming, and I'll be posting this video soon. I appreciate your attendance, and I wish you further a very pleasant, great weekend. Okay, take care, guys.